You're listening to the uncivil Satu Jinn, and I'm here drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody. Want to thank the sponsor today, Reaper Apparel. Want to encourage everybody to break out of the comfort zone, live their best self, which I very much support. They got great apparel, hats, shirts, beanies, hoodies, all that good shit. Be sure when you go on to reaperapparel.com, use the code DRINKIN for 10% off your order. Let's fucking go. All right, everybody, welcome to Drinkin at Moe's. Host Big Mo here. Be sure YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. Helps with the pain in the ass YouTube algorithm. That's a tongue twister. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, anywhere you can find your podcast. Today I have with me, I'm excited, Satu Jinn. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Well, I can't complain. You know, I've been having some pretty cool interviews lately. I've been picking up some steam, getting to go to Wrestling Revolver here soon, so that's going to be a fun time.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, I've only ever been to a couple of the shows there, but had Sean T on not too long ago, and he said next time they were in Des Moines that he had my ticket. So I was like, hey, Sean, that offer's still standing?
That's good. Oh, yeah. I haven't been to a Wrestling Revolver show yet.
Oh, they're a good time. I've been able to talk with a handful of the people there. In fact, one of my favorite moments from the last show that I went to was Jake Chris versus Joel Bateman in a death match, and ended with them lighting panes of glass on fire.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was something else. But first thing I like to ask each of my guests is, what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started deciding to make the jump into the business? Because then everybody's got their own story.
I guess for starters, I wasn't really like a fan of what was on TV as like in my younger years. I wasn't a fan at all of wrestling, period. My like the local I guess we were kids back then. So the local kids where I lived had started their own backyard wrestling promotion. And some other guys you may know, like Aiden Blackheart and Shane Mercer.
Okay, yep, I've definitely heard of those guys.
Yeah, they had started their own like backyard promotion, had a ring and everything. And I was about 16, I think, 15, 16. And at first it was just for fun. I did it for about 4 years, and I was just goofing off, just like not really taking it seriously, just kind of having fun, backyard wrestling.
Yeah.
And then one day it just clicked in my head, like, why not try like to do this professionally, like go get trained and see where this can go. Pretty much. Like I wasn't really doing much else. Like I had dropped out of high school to get like a factory job, so I wasn't doing anything. So why not try for something more? Shane was the one who got me in shape and then introduced me to a man who goes by Cash Flow. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's I don't know if he's current OVW heavyweight champion, but he's been champion there. He currently works mostly there, I think. He was an IWA Mid-South guy back in the day, did stuff for the Juggalos. He was the guy who broke me into wrestling, trained me. And from there, after I was trained, I was pretty much just let loose on the indies to do whatever I did. And from there, I just like hopped in cars and found people who like vets pretty much, and just hopped in cars and showed up to shows and built rings and did what I did until people gave me a shot.
Hey, and you know what? That's the way, well, most people get their start is, finding vets that are needing that, have a car, have some space in their car, get in there, start setting up shows. Then before you know it, you're getting into matches here and there. So it's all pretty cool. I've had my fair share of stories with guys, and I've actually shared, funny enough, one time I went to a show in Des Moines, Iowa, where there was some guys that I've become pretty good friends with, and they were all staying overnight because they were going to a show, I believe, in North Dakota the next day. And I remember me and one other guy, he was curled up on one end of the couch, and here I am curling up on the other end, just all like, oh. So sometimes that's how the start goes. It's not everybody getting, knowing somebody at the performance center and, getting to get in that way and kind of getting an easy way in the door.
Right. And I wouldn't say that's an easy way either. I mean, everyone has their own like walk to get to the dance, I guess. That makes any sense.
No, that makes perfect sense, because I mean, even if you have somebody, for lack of a better way to put it, open the door for you, it's up to you to do what you can. It's all on you after you make that walk through it. But
100%.
Oh yeah, and
like
some of
me,
the yeah. No, go ahead.
Me in like 2016 would not have survived in the matches I get now in 2023.
Speaking of some of those, I seem like, I don't know how the hell this happened, but I seem to have developed a little bit of a following in the deathmatch community. Like, I've had Bull Bronson, I've had Alex Colon, which that was a bucket list level one for me, having him on. Oh, I've interviewed a good portion of the last CZW Tournament of Death, including the winner. So,
oh hell yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been blessed in that aspect. But, some of the matches that you've been involved in, it's kind of interesting because the death match used to be kind of was stuck to, where you got your start in like the backyards. But now it's on like the huge stages and getting like what I like to call a little bit of a deathmatch explosion, because I mean, you have CZW getting back into death matches. You got GCW doing all their stuff with like Tournament of Survival, the Nick Gage Invitational, and my favorite, the Art of War games. Those matches are insane. But basically what I was into is, what is it like being a part of some of this stuff and being a part of those type of matches? Because it kind of takes it, in my opinion, it takes something special to actually go ahead and sign up for some of those matches.
I can't really like boil it down to how it really like feels for me per se, uh, if I had to, I guess, mm, hmm, never really thought about it like that.
No, that's fine because I mean the way I mean going back to some of the promotions and stuff, like not only do you have all these promotions, like let's say one that's very popular out there, ICW No Holds Barred, Horror Slam, Circle Six, GCW, CZW, and one that I am looking forward to getting to because they're having their first show here in my town, Omaha, Nebraska. Mid Death Pro ran over there by the Carver. They're having their first show here in Omaha here in like towards the end of March. But like all those are like some top notch places. And I mean, they're getting helped out by, streaming services like IWTV, Fight TV, even more so now with the Fight Plus. I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah, there's seriously been a huge influx. I mean, it seems like it's more so lean towards the deathmatch scene, but I feel like it's really just the independent wrestling scene as a whole. Like not just death matches is getting the light from like streaming services, stuff like that. But yes, there has been a boom, I guess, as compared to like earlier years for deathmatch wrestling in particular.
Yeah. No, and I mean, you make it a good point. It's not just deathmatch that's getting helped out there with those streaming services. I mean, you got great promotions out there that like aren't really centered around death matches. They might feature a death match here or there. Like I got some pretty good friends out at Warrior Wrestling in Chicago that I mean they have a little bit of everything, and I mean they're bringing in guys like the Kingo from Mexico, and they really got helped out there when that streaming ban got lifted, like right before their last show that featured a triple threat with the Kingo in it. So it's, you got so many choices out there with independent wrestling and just wrestling in general that are being helped out by those services.
100%.
Oh no, go ahead.
It's kind of nuts when I think about it now. Like, yeah, I was just talking with someone not too long ago about how like I was thinking about during the pandemic, and because of those streaming services, like wrestling and like there wasn't too much entertainment going on, and wrestling was like one of the first things to like open its doors to try to entertain the masses. I feel like there was like comedy and stuff like that, maybe some music shows, but like the only thing I know that I see, because I'm in the community of wrestling, where wrestling was trying to do something.
Oh yeah, and you bring up a good point because I mean, a lot of places were shutting down productions, and you get into wrestling. I mean, on the national scales, you had WWE doing their stuff with the Thunderdome. You had Daly's place for AEW, and then you have all these other independent promotions that are doing things like one here in the Omaha area did one where it was basically like a drive-in movie sort of thing where people would be able to just sit in their cars, and they had the ring set up, and they'd stream that, I believe, on Twitch. But it really was wrestling being one of those first things that really consistently started putting out stuff during that time.
100%.
What would you say what would you say is a favorite promotion of yours that you've been a part of? Because you've been a part of some pretty big ones. I mean, as far as independent wrestling goes.
Uh, I mean, that's pretty cut and dry. I would say ICW was probably my favorite. No holds barred.
Oh,
My
yeah.
favorite to work with.
I can. Oh, I was going to say, I can understand. They put on some great stuff. And I mean, they got some unique shows even with their stuff that they do with In the Chains. And then they got their like the pit fight type shows that are like very unique because, I mean, you don't see it everywhere where the type of shows like that, especially that pit fighter, I forget the exact name of it, the event when they put that on, but the In the Chains ones, like where literally every match there's no ring ropes, it's just chains and stuff. I mean, it's insane. I know shortly after I interviewed the SAT, they were going to be on one of those shows. I want to say it was last WrestleMania weekend. And I ended up watching. I'm like, holy shit. And they ended up pulling off one of their patented Spanish flies off of the corner. And it's just insane. But kind of round things off, I do like to I have two categories. First one's a bit of a name game where I like to kind of, as much as I can, tailor it to the guest, and as much as I can, try to have people that you've at least been on the same card with. But sometimes I'm not able to make that happen. But I give you a name, and you give me your first thoughts on
them. Okay.
First one, I kind of vaguely brought him up. The winner of the last CZW Tournament of Death, Bobby Beverly, the Bev.
I love the Bev. He's a solid guy.
Oh yeah, he was fun. I gotta have him on, and I wanted to say when I scheduled with him, it was actually before the Tournament of Death, but we ended up talking after, and it was like, oh, cool, I'm getting to talk to the winner of the Tournament of Death. That's pretty insane. Next up, kind of also brought him up a little bit ago. The guy that I've sat front row at some of his shows, and let me tell you, when you're sitting front row and that guy's walking towards you, he is one intimidating looking motherfucker. The Carver.
The Carver is an interesting guy, to say the least. Like the few times I've crossed paths with him, like they were probably some of the funnest matches I've had. But gosh damn it, like I keep my distance when we're not working together. Like other than that, it's like keep him over there.
Yep, I can understand that. Like he was supposed to have a no rope barbed wire match against a really good friend of mine here in Omaha. That it was the night after a mid-death pro show, and he ended up getting cut up pretty bad by a light tube. So another friend of mine, crazy as he is sometimes, ended up volunteering to be a replacement so they could still have that no rope barbed wire match. So.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, the two guys I was talking about, you might have ran into them, Bo Gott and Brandon Juarez.
Bo Gott, I've seen the name, and I feel like I've ran into him before, but maybe not. Like, it's probably one of those things where, like, we bump into each other on some random show, but I don't think we've met. The other name doesn't sound familiar, but I've probably met him.
He's been a pretty good friend of mine. He was actually the best man at my wedding. Actually introduced me to my wife. But yeah, he was into and did more of the death matches before I met him. So I've heard plenty of stories, especially going over to like the gathering of the juggalos and stuff, and some of the crazy shit that goes on there. And when he wasn't the one that first told me that he was gonna be the replacement for that no rope barbed wire match. And when I overheard, then I went up and asked him, like, really? It's like, yep. I'm like, man, I don't envy you. Because those no rope barbed wire matches are. Whew. Next up, a guy that, man, he is a machine, and I'm glad he's back after he had a little bit of a scare not too long ago. Hoodfoot.
Hoodfoot is like a brother to me, honestly. Like, I don't want to say little brother because like he's his own man now, but like when we started out, when I was getting in carloads, I was in a carload, and I remember Hoodfoot coming along, and like I remember being responsible for Hoodfoot and making sure like he kept on his P's and Q's of like paying dues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Seeing him now is like one of the best things ever for me.
Oh, I can imagine, when you kind of help somebody along in a way, and then seeing, the success that they end up having, like Hoodfoot's been having. I mean, when he came back from that little bit of a scare after he had that kind of a nasty gash in a match, I remember watching the match that happened in. I'm like, all of a sudden, suddenly it ended. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? So I'm glad he's back into it and getting in there.
Same.
Next up, a guy that I'm believing next week, releasing his episode, a guy that bit of a legend, especially in the deathmatch community, Madman Pondo.
Madman Pondo is probably one of my favorite people in the biz. Like, he was my second match ever in wrestling. And like when I wrestled Madman Pondo, that's when I was like, I can fucking do this. I never felt more like into it than when I wrestled Pondo.
Though I can see how a guy like him and getting in there, especially when you're kind of young in the business, could definitely do that. Because I mean, good Lord, he, like I kind of mentioned when bringing him up, bit of a goddamn legend, that guy. And to see that, he's still hanging in there, getting it done. And man, I remember when he said that he'd do my podcast, I'm like, oh shit. Like, that was like, oh damn. Next up, a guy that I have talked to about coming on the show, but the guy's a damn machine, keeping himself busy. So hopefully someday soon, John Wayne Murdoch.
Yo, I say this with all my heart. Fuck John. And he knows why. Nah, it's
All
nothing
right.
but fuck John. I hope he hears this.
Oh,
When you get him on, when you finally manage to wrangle him on, tell him I said fuck you.
I will be sure to remember that. You know what? I'm even more so looking forward to getting that one done now, so I can, see what his reaction's going to be to that one. Well, last but not least for this category, a guy that I'm proud to say I have signed ring-worn kick pads of his, Alex Colon.
I like Alex. I haven't really gotten much time around him on like a personal level. Like we've been in car rides, but there wasn't much like conversation going on. And then there was a few conversations like at shows that we were on together. But I think he's taking a break right now, but I would have liked to have gotten a match with him.
Yeah. Last I remember, I think he's taking a little bit of a break. Don't know how long that's going to last. Hopefully not too long, because I know I'd like to see him get back in there, and maybe you get in there and mix it up with him. So I guess we'll see. Only time will tell there. Next up, I have a bit of a random question category. I never really know, except for one, maybe two questions, what I'm going to put in there until I'm writing my notes together. First one, craziest in-match moment.
Craziest in-match moment? Probably when Cruel about got his arm cut off with that pane of glass that was that accidental not tempered pane of glass of that ICW horror story show.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was probably the craziest. I didn't dawn on me how crazy it was until after like I saw it back at another angle.
I can imagine, you get a seat, you might be sitting there in the crowd and get to see one angle, but then like get to watch it back at a different one, and you get to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Two of mine. One I kind of already mentioned with the Jake Chris versus Joel Bateman death match, where they like literally 4 folding chairs, 2 panes of glass, and then Jake's manager came in with some lighter fluid and I'm like, oh shit. That was nuts. And then I was on the other end of a multi-person ladder match. I was on the other side of the crowd. They had a ladder bridged between the ring apron and the guardrail. And all of a sudden I see one of my friends had a guy on his back, and then before I know it, leaped up and the ladder just went completely like a V. It was nuts. So but yours, that one, that would be hard to beat. I always like asking this question because you always hear some entertaining stories with it from getting to hear about that moment. And speaking of crazy moments, some might involve like different types of weapons, like the glass or the folding chairs. What would you say is a weapon that you would like to avoid being used against you if you had the choice?
My own saw blade.
Okay.
Yeah, Randy West did that here recently on the last RPW show. This time it's War.
Okay.
If you haven't seen that, check out the replay on IWTV.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah, she chopped me up, and I was like, "Ow, this is what I've been doing to people. I don't want this no more.
Oh man,
No one's ever getting that thing out of my hand again."
I can imagine. I know I've heard some ones that I would definitely understand. I mean, I've heard everything from oh, definitely not wanting to use fire, but I've heard gusset plates. But surprising, well, I thought was a surprising one. Alex Cologne, he told me toothpicks.
Oh yeah, anything that'll break off. Yeah, I don't want that either.
Oh yeah,
Toothpicks, wood, anything like that. Now,
yeah. No, we because he made a very good point, and I'm sure you understand. You know, you might luck out and you get the whole damn thing out of there, but you know, you break off the wrong piece, and then you might have a chunk of that embedded in your skin, get infected and shit. Nasty.
yeah, it's not
Mm,
good.
oh, yeah. But next one, I personally have both of these, but would you consider yourself more of a dog or a cat person?
Uh, I mean, currently, I guess I'd call myself a cat person, seeing as I have three cats, but I want a dog so bad, but I have
No,
three cats.
no, my I can totally understand. I've always considered myself more of a dog person, but when I first met my wife, she had two, and we actually now have a third cat, and we also have an English bulldog and a Great Dane puppy.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're both surprisingly relaxing on the couch right now, which earlier they were kind of fighting over one of their squeaky toys. But the
I,
the cat the cat thing, my wife surprised me one night because she had been talking about getting another one. But then all of a sudden I see in the window of one of our upstairs rooms, I see a cat up there, and I'm like, okay, that cat looks fluffier. Then I go and I get 1 foot on the steps to go upstairs, and my wife's like, babe, I'm like, you got another cat, didn't you?
hmm,
That cat seems to love the hell out of me. Like I'll be laying in bed, and all of a sudden he'll just crawl right up on me and just start like laying its head on my beard. And I'm like, okay, you're a little close. But well, me right now, I'm drinking a Coors Banquet, one of my favorites.
hmm.
What would you say is a favorite drink of yours, whether alcoholic, non, or hell, one of each?
Uh, favorite alcoholic drink has got to be recently I had tried it was any type of like green apple whiskey
Ooh,
with cranberry juice.
ooh, that
Yeah,
that sounds tasty.
yeah. I seen it at a bar at a show at a Slave to the Death one time. I was like, I'm gonna try that. That sounds tasty, and I've been in love with it ever since.
Damn, I might have to go give me that a shot because I mean, you bring up the green apple whiskey, that already sounds tasty enough, but then you add that other part to it. It's like, I'm definitely gonna have to look into trying that.
For sure. And then non-alcoholic is like any type of like I'm real big on like strong like lemon lime sodas.
Okay, I've I've considered myself a bit of a Dr. Pepper fiend myself. My wife says I have a bit of a Dr. Pepper problem, and I tell her I've got it figured out. Only problem I have is if I don't have any.
Mm.
But the lemon lime stuff, I mean, if I am at a place where like, oh, they only brought in like Sprite or whatever, it's like, man, I can have that. That's fine. What would you say is like, do you have a favorite lemon lime soda? Because I mean,
Oh,
there's a variety of them out there.
oh, when I say like strong lemon lime sodas, I mean I'll take whatever lemon lime soda they usually have, and usually I'm always getting a fountain soda. And it's like I'll do like a lemon lime soda, probably Sprite or Sierra Mist, and then just fill it full of like that lime flavoring.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they have
Yeah,
those those fountain things that will have like the different flavorings you can like put in there.
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
I get
That's
you. I
mine
like.
too.
Oh yeah,
Where I
if
cut
I'm
up limes and throw it in my soda.
okay, okay, that sounds good. I know with the those fountain things, if I'm getting drink at the fountain, I like doing the with the Dr. Pepper. I like putting in the a bit of cherry and vanilla in there. I don't know. Something about
It,
that just, oh man, it's damn good.
I feel that.
Last but not least, if you had, what would you say is your best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling?
Find a reputable school or trainer and get trained. Like that's it's probably your best option.
No, that is true. And I mean, it's not like these days, it's not like where it was, oh boy, back when, oh, dating me now, but I graduated high school in 2002. And back then, it was like, I don't remember if I knew of anywhere where there was a reputable school. And now, like, no matter what part of the country you're at, you have within probably a few hours of you, you got decent
100%.
schools out there. Like, oh, we got Black and Brave Academy out there in Iowa. You got oh, California, you got Santino Brothers and Level Up ran by B Boy. You got throughout Texas and into Florida and up all throughout the East Coast. I mean, if you look, you can find it. And you know, there's definitely those schools out there that if you put it out there that you were a graduate of that school, it definitely carries some pretty good weight with it.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's very important that you get out there because I mean,
Well,
even with oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say not only that, not only like the reputation of the school, but there's also the relationships you'll build at that school or learn to build at
Oh
the
yeah,
school.
no, that is definitely true because you know as you're going through the training, you build the relationships with your trainers, with the fellow people getting trained, and then you know as you get in there, you get you know closer to when they're going to put you on shows, and then they help if you get one of the good ones because there are those ones out there that kind of want you to stick with just them. But if you get one of those reputable ones, they'll help you with, you know, okay, getting your name out there and all that. And then you build up those relationships there to where, you know, you can that even those people will help you get build even more. So it's just kind of blossoms out that way, I guess, for a lack of a better way to put it.
I
But
100% agree with
oh
that.
yeah, and
Uh,
oh yeah, it sounded like you were about to say something.
oh yeah, I was gonna say just to add to that, you mentioned schools that like don't want you to like leave their school and area. I've met plenty of those, but like the best thing that could have ever happened to me was my school closed its doors. And like it wasn't because they were the type that didn't want me to go anywhere or like leave the school. It was just at that time I didn't know any better, and I was completely content with like working at that school and like building a career from there. It was that complete like destruction of basically my foundation and like have everything crumble underneath me. It was like, all right, I've got to hit the ground running now and figure something the hell out.
No, yeah. No, and I mean, the way I like to, that brings up something that I kind of like to bring up when people talk about how they thought when I was on deployment with the Navy, there was a time where I had to stay up for 4 days straight, not even getting to lay down. And they're like, oh, I don't know if I could ever do that. Well, I always tell them, you really find out what you're capable of doing when you don't really have a choice in the matter. And if you're in a situation where the school you're at closes down, it's like, okay, if I want to continue this, I have no choice but to get out there and start any relationships that I didn't already have built, busting your ass and doing it. Like the deployment, I didn't have any choice there. With everything we had going, it just randomly happened where there was that 4-day stretch where I didn't even get to lay down. It's like, well, do what I got to do to push through until somebody finally, last thing I remember hearing was, we might want to let him go to sleep now. And finally got to lay down. But yeah, like I said, when you really find out what you're capable of doing when you don't have a choice in the matter, where if there's something you want to get done, you got to get out there and do it.
100%. Agree.
But that is about all I have. But before we go, one, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
Social media wise, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Satu Jinn. I'm the only Satu Jinn on basically any social media platform. So if you search me, you're going to find me.
All right. We will definitely be adding all that in the description when this episode releases. Like I said, that is about all I have. My dogs are starting to stir up, so I think they're ready to go get outside and go do their business. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me tonight. And best of luck in upcoming shows, and you're welcome back anytime.
Sure. Thank you for having me.